Yo, Big C in the house. You know the name. Fin Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami Heat blazing. We scorching the floor. Marino the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep, call it football nirvana. Big C, break it down, got the stats in his veins. Play-by-play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field, opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed, leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle, defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean, whole squash the champ. Tune in, Big C, got the mic on lock. Fin Posse Podcast, it's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Fin Posse. We the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. Defense smash, call it Aqua Tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.
Try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less, your check as I'm chess.
What up, Fin fans? Welcome to another episode of the Fin Posse Podcast. I am your host, Big C, and this is brought to you by Game Changers Media. Well, it's Tuesday, and Tua Tagovailoa is still our quarterback. Mike McDaniel is still our head coach. Chris GRIER is still our general manager. And Stephen Ross is still the owner of the Miami Dolphins. Stephen Ross famously now said that at the end of last season that the status quo would no longer be acceptable. Well, I hate to break it to Stephen Ross. This isn't the status quo, bro. This is worse. We are worse. We are worse in every aspect. And you still do nothing. Do nothing. You do nothing. And it's unacceptable. You know, I used to really support Stephen Ross because he would open his pocketbook and he would allow the general manager to go spend whatever a dollar amount on whatever players that he felt this team needed, that Chris GRIER felt this team needed. He never shied away from giving out the big money to players to try to help this team win. But now he is so much part of the problem. And there's one thing for sure. Stephen Ross is not selling this football team. It is too profitable for him with the F1 racing and all the other events he holds at the stadium. And the sad part of all this is that, you know, they're going to eventually move on from Mike McDaniel, right? There's a chance that they move on from Tua Tagovailoa. But I think the sad part of this is that with all the talk that's going around, Chris Greer's name is not being mentioned as much as it should be. Now, making a change, like I said, cosmetically, it's what this fan base needs to be shown that something's going to be done, that it's not okay the way that our team is currently performing. So making a change at quarterback, making a change at coach, making a change at general manager in the middle of the season is important just for fan morale. Does it make this team better this year? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's not going to automatically turn this team around and we're going to start winning football games if we hire, or not even hire, but promote a new guy to run this football team. If Mike McDaniel's fired and we promote Weaver or Bevel or Frank Smith or whoever you want to promote, it's not going to help this football team on the field. But the fans need to see that it's not okay. We're not going to sit here taking it, laying down, and that Stephen Ross is going to make a move. He's going to make a change. But no changes are made. He's on record as saying he's still happy with Mike McDaniel. He's still content with Mike McDaniel, that he's wants to give them a fair amount of time to be able to turn this thing around. Listen, there's no turning this around. There's no turning this around. There's no making this look better. Now there's talks that, that our pass rushers could be traded before the deadline. Matthew Judon, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Waddle's been in trade talks. And what's so concerning to me, and I said this a little bit yesterday, is that if Chris Grier is not replaced now, and Chris Grier is in charge of trading Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Matthew Judon, Jalen Waddle, I feel like some kind of guarantee, some kind of understanding was had between Stephen Ross and Chris Grier that Chris Grier's job is safe. And if Chris Grier's job is safe, the Miami Dolphins have no hope of getting out of this dumpster fire that we're currently in anytime soon. Chris Grier cannot build a winning football team. He can't do it. I don't have faith that Chris Grier can build a winning football team. Now, I listen, 2023 was a broke clock is right twice a day. So 2023, he built a team that was capable of winning, but we had zero depth. And at the end of the day, we didn't end up winning anything. So you're going to tell me that we're going to go into next year with Chris Grier as our general manager? Now, changes will be made. I believe 100% Mike McDaniel will be fired at the end of the year. At the latest, by the end of the year, he'll be fired. But that's not good enough. Mike McDaniel's not the only problem on this football team. The way this football team is constructed is a huge problem. Just relax. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Everyone will be fired after the season. Glenn, and listen, if that's the case, I can be okay with it. I can relax if that's the case. What I can't relax about, what I can't be okay about, is if Chris Grier is not fired. And everything's pointing in the direction that Chris Grier may be safe. Miller says, good morning, man. Tua will likely demand a trade before deadline. No one's trading for Tua Tagovailoa. Nobody. He can demand a trade all he wants. Nobody's trading for him. No one's trading for Tua. I've said it once. I'll say it again. And maybe I'm off base, but I don't believe that I am. Tua Tagovailoa has regressed. Tua Tagovailoa is not the same quarterback that he was 2 years ago. Tua Tagovailoa, I believe wholeheartedly, I believe Tua's hip is giving him issues. I 100% believe that Tua re-aggravated that hip injury last year, and now he's not getting the same velocity on his passes. It's affecting his throwing motion. I believe all of that. To me, there is no other explanation to why a guy that completes passes over the middle with such great accuracy, a guy that we've seen him throw the ball 60 yards in the air, has no velocity on his passes, lacks the accuracy that he once did, can't throw the ball 40 yards down the field anymore. I truly believe that the hip has become an issue again. Eric, good morning. Good morning. Looks like we're going to have to ride it out the rest of the season. Upset on Suns playing indoors. Tua going to get flashback from Tide days. We cannot trade Tua right now. The cap hit will not allow us to do that. You guys name me one team that would be willing to trade for Tua. You name me one team that'd be willing to trade for Tua and take on that contract. And I don't think he can be traded this year. Next year, post June 1st, it would only be a $13 million cap hit for us. That's the earliest that we could possibly trade him and not be stuck with a whole bunch of money. But tell me name one team that would possibly trade for Tua Tagovailoa. I'm waiting. Carolina will not. Why would they do that? Why would the Rams trade for him? The Rams have Matthew Stafford, who's playing maybe the best football of his career right now. I don't believe it. I don't believe that they would. No one's the way that he's playing right now. There's no one trading for him. His injury history, his contract. There's not a team. There's not one. There's not one team that's trading for him right now. Now, if Tua was still playing good football like he has in the past, a team can overlook the injury history to a point. A team can overlook the contract to a point. But you got an enlarged contract. You got a extensive injury history, and you're playing like dog shit. No team's trading for that. Not a chance. Whether you like it or not, unless Miami's willing to take a massive cap hit next year, Tua Tagovailoa is going to be on this roster. And Tua Tagovailoa, there's a very good chance that he's your starting quarterback going into 2027 or 26. I'm sorry, 2026. There's a very good chance of that. But my major issue right now is with Mike McDaniel. He's not even worthy of the conversation because Mike McDaniel's days are numbered. There's no sense talking about Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's days are numbered. He will not be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins next year. No reason to even talk about him. My problem comes in now with Chris Grier needs to be replaced, and that doesn't look likely. So now my issues are with Stephen Ross. My issues are with Stephen Ross now. Miller, Tua has 0 suitors right now. Tua has 0 suitors. None. Tua does not have one suitor, not one. You're delusional. You're delusional if you think someone wants to trade for Tua. I can't believe even people even think that that's an option. There's no option there. Unless Tua has a complete epiphany this year and put some positive tape on, put some positive tape together at the end of this year, there's no trading Tua. I promise you that the Miami Dolphins will not be able to trade Tua. What's up, Irving? Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed. Hit that like button. Try to get me in that algorithm. Help me out. Again, if you don't like the program, by all means, don't like it. But if you enjoy sitting here talking Dolphins football with Big C, your boy, hit that like button. And let me shoot this out. Blake, you need to stop crying on the fantasy football. You've been crying all year, but you're sitting undefeated, bro. Blake, you've been crying all year about your football team. First, it was the draft, and then, oh, I'm going to lose, or this is not fair. But you're sitting undefeated, bro. Like, come on. Come on. Justin says, hey, Big C, how did you become a fan being in upstate New York? My dad was a diehard Dolphins fan, brother. And I would go spend my dad had limited visitation when I was real little, and his visitation day was Sundays. So that's how me and my dad spent time together, is watching football when I was a little itty bitty guy. Dad Dean says, I'm just praying that all but yes, no one would trade for Tua. There's always someone that will take good contract if Miami decides to pay some of the money. Glenn, that eliminates the point of you would have to pay so much of that contract. At that point, you might as well cut him. You can get a backup quarterback for $4, $5, $6 million, $7 million. Tua Tagovailoa is a backup quarterback. Miller, no one's paying that type of money for a backup quarterback. You said something about the trade. I didn't get the draft. I'm just messing with you anyway, Blake. I'm just messing with you. Chris, I don't see the Saints doing it. I just don't. There's not enough substance. Tua's not proven that he can win games. He's not proven he can play good football. Again, if If Tua was playing like 2023 Tua, absolutely. We did it with T Hill. What about T Hill? Nobody wants Tua's contract. You're gonna have to pay 90% of his contract. Get nothing in return. The whole purpose of trading Tua is to get off and under his contract. We're already going to have to eat 13 million of it, and that's with trading him. Irving, at this point, Tua's lucky to be a starter. He's regressed, brother. In the past, I'm with you. Tua could start, and if you give Tua the right situation, Tua could succeed. I don't think Tua's the same quarterback. And hey, maybe I'm dead wrong. But I think Tua has regressed. I don't think Tua's the same quarterback. I don't. I think that hip is an issue. 100%. Whatever game he hurt it in, what was it? Was it the Texans game that he hurt it in? I think he re-aggravated that in that hit from college, and he has not been the same since. Nope, see the worst. I think you're right about the hip. Something's going on with him that isn't going to allow him to uncork it or throw accurately any longer. Dad Dean says, what happens if Tua retires because of injury? Well, I think there's some kind of injury clause where we would save money. He still gets a huge portion of his money regardless. I don't think it's a lack of effort, Miller. I really don't think it's a lack of effort. Glenn, it started before Reek. Has it gotten worse since Reek went down? Yes. But him missing throws, and that started before Reek. We seen Tua complete passes and do a good job before Tyreek Hill was ever a Miami Dolphin. So it can't be just the Tyreek Hill excuse. We seen him do good with Lee Bowden and, Devontae Parker and a bunch of other players, a bunch of other players that aren't great players. You'd see that in practice and training camp if he was the hip. Well, Justin, didn't they say that they weren't throwing no deep passes in camp this year? They were saying that there wasn't deep passes in camp this year. What about guys not a I gotta go grab my computer charger real quick. Hold on. My apologies. I forget what I was saying. Listen, there's a lot of issues on this football team. I think they're doing a bad job. And it's not one thing. It's not just Tua. I'm telling you, there's no one that's trading for Tua Tagovailoa. Nobody. Not the way that he's currently playing. If this is what we see from Tua from here going out, there's no one trading for him. Raphael, the Rams are not trading for Tua. When you can go into the draft and get a quarterback that can come in and start right away, no one's giving up anything. No one's paying that type of money for a quarterback that is injury prone, that has no arm strength. Nobody's doing that. There's a lot of issues with this football team. A lot. And, you know, again, I'll say this. I don't feel like Tua's been given a fair shake. Never have we given him, again, in 2023. I hate to keep going back to down to 2023. But that's the one year that we gave him a competent offensive line. We had wide receiver weapons. We had a good running game. And we had the top offense in all of football. But again, I don't feel like Tua is that quarterback from 2023. He just doesn't look the same to me. He does not look the same to me. And maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. And Cat in the Hat, there are a lot of bad play calls. Mike McDaniel is doing a horrible job. Chris Grier has horribly put this team together. He's done a horrible job putting a successful winning team on the field for this fan base. But Tua is not making the plays that Tua routinely made. When there is no pressure and the guy is open over the middle, he's sailing the football. He's throwing the interception. He can't handle a snap to save his life. He refuses to throw the ball away. Irving, and that's when we went downhill. When Eichenberg had to play, when Cotton had to play, that's when we lost our 4 or 5 game lead to the Buffalo Bills. That's why Mostert had 20 plus rushing touchdowns. That's why Achane had 800 yards rushing in like 9 games. We had a good offensive line for part of that season. And then we just got devastated by injuries that, we ended up losing division to Buffalo, and then we ended up having to go to Kansas City in the freezing cold. But like I said, I'm not right about everything, but I truly believe that Tua hasn't looked like the same quarterback. There's something wrong there. Nope. See, the worst, you're right. That the one year that Tua stays healthy, literally almost everybody else on the team got hurt. And this offense is built for Tua. Tell me, you know what I mean? Tell me how he's going to perform in somebody else's offense that's not built straight for him. I think Mendoza's looked really impressive so far. I mean, there's still a lot of football to be played. I heard Mendoza was a Dolphin fan growing up. But Eric, it does not matter. Listen, we can draft Mendoza with the first pick, the second pick, whatever. You know, we can take Mendoza. But it doesn't matter if this damn if Chris Greer is still building this team, I have no faith. I have no faith. I know, Raphael. This Focusrite box, I don't know the issue with the microphone. Like, I've changed out Focusrite boxes numerous times. Sometimes it doesn't do it. Sometimes it works perfectly. Other times it'll do it every 10 seconds. Asking you 2-in-ears options on quarterback prospects is wild. Who's a 2-in-ear? Are you saying I'm a 2-in-ear? Glenn says, I believe Tua quit on his team, on this team. Who knows? Anything is possible at this point. Maybe Tua did quit. Maybe did he? Maybe he did. Mike McDaniel has been called out by Kurt Warner about his concepts have built in DK routes, leaving only one wide receiver actual route. That's a major issue. Again, there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of issues with this team. It's not just one. It's not just one. There's not one thing but that's why I said that it's imperative that we change everything in this franchise. Stephen Ross ain't going nowhere. Tua hasn't always been this bad, CC. Tua hasn't always been this bad. What up, Eagles Uncensored? I don't know how McDaniels is still the head coach. I did. I watched him some in Alabama. I've watched him in the pros though. He's not as bad as he's never been this bad. Never. Well, yeah, Glenn, it's going to get worse when Reek goes down. Reek is the best player on this football team. When you lose your best player, I mean, yeah, you're going to get worse. Nobody beat Kansas City in the playoffs that year, bro. Who beat Kansas City that year? In the freezing cold. Who regresses in year 6, though? Somebody dealing with a lingering injury. That's who. That's why I think it's the hip. And the fact that they were so hush-hush about it. Why were they so hush-hush about what was wrong with him at the end of last year? Yeah, I mean, Mike McDaniel does look like he's stressed out, but for good reason. Again, the Miami Dolphins need to make changes. All first and foremost, Chris Greer needs to go. That's the bottom line. We need someone in here that can build a winning football team. If you're holding out for Dan Marino, remember we only made one Super Bowl with Dan. And listen, you're right. Dan Marino only made it to one Super Bowl. He ran into some really great teams. But the Miami Dolphins weren't necessarily built correctly then either. Never did they try to get Dan a running game. The defense didn't become elite till the end of Marino's career. I have no faith in this football team until Chris Greer is replaced, bottom line. And that's where I think Stephen Ross is the problem. Stephen Ross is the problem because he refuses to replace him. And it looks like if you're going to allow Chris Greer to wheel and deal still and trade away Jalen Ramsey, or not Jalen Ramsey, my fault, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Matthew Judon, possibly Jalen Waddle, it makes me feel like you're going to allow him to be here next year. Hey, question. If I give you guys a third, can I have Fitzpatrick? Well, we just gave Fitzpatrick more money. Well, I mean, Dan had more than that at the beginning of his career, obviously, with the Marx Brothers. But do you think that the Miami Dolphins, honestly, if we have the first overall pick in the draft, do you have faith that Chris Greer is going to be able to build this team? Honestly, do you have faith that Chris Greer is going to be able to get the job done? Let's say we move on from Tua. All the Tua haters out there that everything is Tua's fault. Let's say Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa is replaced. You have faith that Chris Greer is going to be able to build a winning football team? And that's my issue. That's my issue. Ross is a huge problem at this point because he won't do what's needed to be done. And what needed to be done is to clean freaking house. You got to clean house. Well, at some point, Daniels will be back. Austin Jackson will be back. Will Tua still have the starting job by that point? Who knows? Now, I don't think Quinn Ewers is the answer at quarterback, so I'm in no rush to get him in the game. Listen, if we're 1-14, give him the last two games. Cool. But we don't need the Quinn Ewers. You think it's ugly now? I think it'll only get uglier. I agree, CC. Greer should have been fired April 23rd, 2020. And that's why Stephen Ross is the problem, is because he refuses to let Chris Greer go. And I truly feel like we're leaning in the direction of him being safe yet again. Irving, he just got to hit a home run at the general manager position. He's got to hit a home run. If he hits a home run at the general manager position, a good general manager will find a good head coach and they can build a good football team. And Chris, our Stephen Ross has shown that he'll spend the money to build a football team. So if we can get someone that can draft and a good competent coach and a general manager that can build a football team, we'll be all right. But that's where it starts. What up, Tua Trash? Yeah, the Dolphins are bad. The Dolphins are bad, brother. Yeah, McDaniel never take a demotion, the offensive coordinator. That'd be wishful thinking, right? But even then, Mike McDaniel's play calling has gone down the drain. Screen. Like, his play calling is really fallen off. Stephen Ross thinks the fans are idiots. It doesn't matter if fans are still going to games and buying merchandise. It's not all screens, brother, but there's a you don't think there's a great deal of screens? Justin, that's not the reason for all the screens. But yeah, until everything gets changed, we have no hope. There's no reason to have any hope. Mike McDaniel came out and said Tua's still the starter, made a joke about the expectation is that he won't throw 10 interceptions. What? This week's going to be bad. Atlanta's going to run all over us. We will probably lose this game by double digits. I don't know if anything gets worse than last week, but we'll see. We'll see. But I do think we end up with a top 5 draft pick at the very least. But if Chris Grier's out there making the pick, I have no faith that we're going to be able to rebuild this team or rebuild it the right way. To his bitch ass pussy arm is the reason it's all screens. Love to a Hail Mary pass versus Chargers 10-yard bombs that was thrown into triple coverage. James interception at the end of the game. Shake my head. The question is, how much of this can you truly blame on Tua? At this point, we're sitting at 1-6. I blame at least 2 losses on Tua Tagovailoa. At least 2 losses. We had the opportunity to win two of those games if Tua doesn't make boneheaded plays. I blame the O-line. I think Mike only schemes quick slants and screens to keep Tua healthy, and because there's no pass protection to let deep routes develop, I think it limits his genius ability. I think it probably affects it. I mean, sure. If we had a better offensive line, yeah, maybe Mike McDaniel could do some more with it. CC, you're not being fair. It's not all of it. It's not all Tua. It's not all Tua. That's not being realistic. The whole situation here is bad right now. The offensive line's bad. The receivers aren't great. Achan's the only real positive thing. Achan and Patrick Paul. I believe Brewer isn't playing to the level that we've became accustomed to. Sorry, bro. Uncle Vic is not for sale. That is my DC. The coaching's been bad. Defensive coaching's been bad. Defensive line's been bad. The secondary's been bad. Besides Rasul Douglas, he's been all right. There's a lot of issues here. There's a lot of issues. We need a full rebuild. But you can't have a full rebuild if you're going to allow Chris Grier to build this football team again. This isn't his first rebuild. He's already failed at that. He's already proven that he's not the man for the job. Run blocking on passing plays to sell, play action, movement is the structural problem. I can see that. Again, the Miami Dolphins have to replace everything. Do not partially replace it. This is the perfect opportunity to replace everything. I'm not making Raphael. I'm not making excuses for Tua. I am not. Not whatsoever. He's been bad, especially the last two games. But let's not act like the rest of the team is playing so good and Tua's just horrible. No, Tua's been horrible, but the defense has been horrible. The coaching's been horrible. Like, they've been horrible together. They've been horrible together. If Tua was truly just a problem, so you could put Patrick Mahomes on this Miami Dolphins team, how many games does Patrick Mahomes win? Now, I think Patrick Mahomes is by far and away the much better quarterback. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is an all-time great. But I don't think Patrick Mahomes wins more than 5 games with this team. Negative Miller. I don't see 8 wins at all. I think you put Patrick Mahomes behind center, he wins 5. He wins 5 games. I think Tua is going to win 1. So if you change out Patrick Mahomes with Tua with Patrick Mahomes and he only wins 5 games, that shows you that Tua is not the only problem. Again, I've been a big Stephen Ross guy just because he's willing to spend the money. He's brought us in fantastic trades as far as going. Well, I wouldn't say that the Jalen Ramsey was a fantastic trade, but he was willing to go out and get the big name guys to help us win football games. I even kind of respected the fact that he was out there trying to, tank for Burrow. That he was out there trying to meet with Tom Brady and Sean Payton, that he was trying to win football games. He was trying to bring a winning team to the Miami Dolphins. But I no longer feel like he's a positive for this football team because he refuses to move on from Chris Grier. And because you refuse to do that, you become public enemy number one. Because you're the man that has the power to change all this. Stephen Ross has the power to change all of this. Again, CC, the market is the market, right, brother? It doesn't matter how much money he makes. That he's not the sole problem. He's not the only problem on this football team. That is so short-sighted to say that Tua is the only reason we're bad. That is straight hate on one individual player. One individual player does not win football games, nor does one individual lose football games. Tua has been absolutely horrible, but he is not the only problem. Maybe the biggest problem. Maybe CC. At this point, maybe Tua is the biggest problem. But again, if you give Tua a successful offensive line, a really good offensive line, a good running game, a strong defense, I think Tua wins you 12 games in most cases. But again, if you believe anything I say or believe what I believe, that Tua might be dealing with that hip and that Tua is not the same quarterback that he was, then maybe Tua doesn't win you 12 games. But past Tua from 2023, Tua wins you 12, 13, 14 games if you give him a good offensive line, a good running game, and a strong defense. Make sure you hit that like button for me, please. If you're new, subscribe, share, turn your notifications on. But yeah, that's my take. Stephen Ross has become public enemy number one because I really truly believe that Chris Grier may be safe. And if Chris Grier's safe, we have no hope for the future. So with Chris Grier remaining as general manager, we have nothing to look forward to. We're going through all this for no reason. We're going through all of this for no reason. And that's depressing. That's depressing. I would hate for us to waste another top 5 pick on a Chris Grier draft choice. I would hate to do it. Rip the Band-Aid off. Let's go. Let's go. Let's start building for the future. Let's have this 2025 season mean something. Let it be the beginning of a new era. Don't stretch this out where we're one of the worst teams in the NFL for the next 5 years because Stephen Ross can't let his good buddy Chris Grier go. Headed up to here with Chris Grier. And if Stephen Ross doesn't get on board, then Stephen Ross needs to sell this team, but obviously that's not a realistic option. But yeah, that's what I got. I appreciate you all. I love you all. Dark days still ahead as long as Chris Grier is the general manager here. Hopefully someone gets in Stephen Ross's ear and tells him what the rest of the world knows, that massive changes all across the board are needed for a new Miami Dolphins era of football. We need to rebuild, and we cannot allow the same chefs in the kitchen. No more partial teardowns. No more, oh, we'll replace this guy, but we'll keep this guy, and this guy. No. Replace them all. That's the answer. That's the key. That's the answer. That's the key to all of this. Starting from scratch. Get some real football knowledgeable guys in the building. Some true football guys. But I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And you know what it is. Fins up, baby. Peace.
Yo. Big C in the house. You know the name. Fin Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami heat blazing. We scorching the floor. Movino the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep. Call it football nirvana. Big C break it down. Got the stats in his veins. Play by play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field. Opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed. Leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle. Defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean. Whole squash the champ. Tune in. Big C. Got the mic on lock. Fin Posse Podcast. It's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Fin Posse, we the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. Defense smash, call it Aqua Tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.